I don't normally do unboxing videos, but man, this Van Moof bike is put together well. I've already, unfortunately, taken off a lot of the padding, but the padding, like, especially after having opened a few Chinese bikes that are just like styrofoam everywhere, they kind of just put the padding that they needed to put on all the drop bars and kind of everything where it's supposed to be. They have a nice box in front that keeps the fork and the mud guards rigid, and it just slides out of the box. You cut like a couple zip ties, and put on the tire, and you're pretty much put on the wheel, and you're pretty much in business. So I'm impressed already. Like right out the gate, this Van Moof is really cool. Hey, this is Seth with Electrek, and today we're going to take a look at the new Van Moof or Van Muff S3 bike, which is a follow-on in the S2 and S1. It's a this is an electric bike. You may notice that the battery isn't obvious, but and also it's a pretty good-looking bike. The battery is, of course, in the down tube. You can see there. And Van Moof is really kind of known for their like minimalist appearance. You're not seeing a lot of wires like you would see in a typical e-bike. And what's kind of interesting about this one is the display is right here. It's not easy to see when you turn it on. You can kind of see if I block the sun a little bit here. You can kind of see there's a display, but it's really hard to read. I find that in the sun it's impossible. But Van Moof has told me that they're going to upgrade the display paint to make it more obvious. At night it's easy to read. When there's no sun, it's readable. So that's going to be a big improvement. One thing is, it was super easy to put together except for one small part, and that's this little guy down here. You'll notice that there's a kind of a feed from the motor. It's a front motor up into the front fork. No suspension on this, by the way, front or back. But the feed was really hard to screw in because you have to go through the spokes, and that took me longer than the rest of the bike combined to get that, and it looks like even one of the screws came out, so I didn't do a great job there. The zip tie works fine. Van Moof knows it's a hard thing to do. Actually, in the instruction manual, it tells you that this is the hardest part, and once you're done with it, it congratulates you. Don't know why that this is a over-engineered, I would say, function, on the form and versus function lineup. This is way on the form side. Functional, I think in some areas takes a back seat. But that said, it's been a great bike to have around. I live in a very hilly area. You can tell like I'm on the side of a mountain right now. This bike is I think it's about it's kind of made for Europe, so it's a 250 watt motor. It's a 36 volt system. The battery is about 500 watt hours. So it's not underpowered by any stretch. It's not like a a light bike, but it's just not enough power to get up like really steep hills, or steep hills that have 20-25% grade and kind of a long grade there. What's kind of interesting about the Van Moof here is so very minimalist handlebar set here. Like there's just two cables coming out of the brakes, but you'll notice these things here, and each thumb has a button here, and this one is a horn, which you can make a couple different sounds, and that's controlled by the app. And then this one is a throttle, and I call this throttle why does it need a throttle when it could just do pedal assist right kind of throttle, because I'm going up this extremely steep hill, and the pedal assist is like barely helping me out, and then I hit the throttle, and it actually works pretty well. but I don't understand why I have to hit the throttle. Why not just have pedal assist that actually uses the full power of the batteries of the motor? So that's a little bit of a question. I will say that, you know, this is a prototype bike. Van Moof has told me that they're going to make some upgrades, like I said before, the speedometer upgrade, because you literally cannot see in the sun anything. And I don't know if I can kind of give you a guide here, but see how there's a light up here and a light down here? It's kind of pixelated. It's super cool at night. I just don't know if it works fantastically during the day. Also kind of interesting, you'll notice the brakes here, no holes on them. I'm not sure why. I mean, it looks cool, but I'm not sure why that's better or worse than a typical set of like 180 millimeter brakes that brake discs that have holes in seam. I think it's better for cooling, but you know, maybe Van Moof will have some more information on that. The seat post is kind of interesting. It came all the way down. You couldn't see anything. You unscrew this, and you're gonna get a way to move it up pretty high. The problem here, so another kind of questionable decision, I think, is this is a very high bar. I'm almost 6 feet, and I can get over it just fine, but it's kind of just resting on my my junk. So anybody under 6 foot, they say up to 5'8" can kind of straddle this thing. I would say closer to 5'9" or 5'10" is going to start to get uncomfortable. So, you know, like, my wife loves this bike. She can't ride it. She's not tall enough to kind of straddle the bar. But, you know, I guess that's a design decision. Maybe, you know, this is a Dutch bike. Dutch people are very tall. This is maybe a Dutch kind of situation. Another nice thing is this chain guard. You won't ever even see the chain. It's pretty nice. There's a 4-speed gearbox back here, which I found initially very unsettling when it would shift gears and I wasn't quite ready for it. You can kind of change the settings in the app so that it shifts like in the, you know, the speed area that you're comfortable with. I did mess around with that a little bit, and I found that eventually I could kind of find my good gearing, and I kind of know when to expect the gears to spin up and down. So 4-speed, and what else can we talk about here? So the pedals are metal. They're pretty nice. They're not anything too special. The tires are Schwalbe Big Bends, which are very standard kind of in this class of bike. I love them. I don't know if you can see it up there, but my daily driver is also using Schwalbe Big Bends, and I don't know if any tire that's better than that. What else can we talk about? The lights in the front and rear are kind of bright. They're more for showing people that you're coming rather than providing light at night. I rode this last night. You can kind of see fine, but, like, you know, as you turn, you see the light still is pointing straight ahead. So I kind of enjoy the bikes that have the light that moves with the front wheel a little bit. What else? Let's see. Talked about the gears. I mean, so one thing to kind of notice is, like, you don't see any place to plug in. It's like nobody really knows that this is a electric bike unless they recognize the, you know, smallish front motor. But Van Moof has put all the kind of speakers and you know, you plug in down here, which was hard for me to find the first time. And then you got this little thing that you're supposed to plug up and in every time, so it's not sticking out. I don't know. Like, I guess I got used to it pretty quickly. I wasn't initially, like, too stoked with that, but it's fine. The bike itself is, like, you know, there's some flat areas, and it's fantastic on flat areas. Like, I can get up to 20 miles per hour pretty quickly, and I can kind of just stay there. Like, I pedal moderately hard, but you know, I can get anywhere I want to go on flat, and even like small ups and downs. This bike is great. Um, really enjoy it. It's like, and you know, obviously when I stop, people are like, "Whoa, what kind of bike is that?" So, you know, if that's your thing, like this is a great bike, and it's at, you know, at $2,000. It's a pretty good price point for a bike designed this well. Uh, you know, an electric bike particularly. Obviously, you can get way cheaper bikes. Um, you can get bikes with like mediocre components for, I would say, those start to look good at around 1,500. So, you know, this is a little bit of a premium over that, but this is a big premium. I mean, the bike is really well designed, feels really good to ride on. Just for my uses, you know, I like to go up to 28 miles per hour. I ride on extremely big hills. This isn't perfect for that kind of situation. And, you know, I don't know that, you know, I'm probably an outlier in that respect. So I don't know that this is going to be the bike for me purposely, but I think, you know, 80% of the population doesn't live on the side of a mountain. They don't necessarily want to go 28 miles per hour, class 3. So I don't know if it makes sense for them. But overall, like I can see, like, hey, you know, you live in the Netherlands, there's no hills. You live in Florida, there's not many hills. There's no hills. You live in an area where there's just small ups and downs. This is gonna be a great bike for you. Like, it looks great. It's not too expensive. It's you know, it's built really well. Like I can't stress enough like how much thought went into the bike. You know, overall. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up here. This is the Moof S3. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. As an addendum, I wanted to give a little bit of what it was like to ride the Moof at night or at dusk here, and also what the speedometer looks like in real world usage. Here you can see it's quite bright. We're at dusk, and you can also see the front light is a little bit better than I've given it credit for. You can see the thing in front of you, although there is some light gappage on the sides.